Hey everyone, Mike here with Prehistoric Magazine. Now, I've always been fascinated by sauropods. I've always been fascinated by big sauropods, and I've always been fascinated by what colors were they. Now, this is a Brachiosaurus model, pretty cool, and it is a light gray in coloration with very subtle black to it. I'll talk about this a little bit later in the video, but again, it is a light gray with just the faintest hint of black. If you looked at this from afar, you would say a light gray and very subtle black. You can barely see the black at all. Again, I'll touch upon this towards the end of this video, but when I sit back and think about what color were sauropods, in my heart, I like to think that they were spectacularly colored. They had these amazing checkered patterns or stripes, or really something I've always hoped would be that we would be able to find out that they looked like a giraffe. You know, they had that same type of amazing coloration to them, dotted in certain areas and just striped in all sorts of amazing patterns. But when you really sit back and think about the big land herbivores of today, the elephants, the rhinos, the hippos, really heavy-bodied animals, the biggest animals that walk the earth today that eat plants, they're all dull colored. You know, when you think to an elephant, they come in some different colors, but most of the time they're gray. They can be a light black, but most of the time it's kind of a gray. The same with rhinoceroses. It is a gray, almost a pebbled texture, very dull in coloration, kind of this gray. Now, when we get to hippos, hippos are kind of interesting in that they can actually have a pinkish, almost under the neck and almost down towards the belly. So I like to think that maybe some sauropods had that too, meaning maybe the majority of their body was a certain color, let's say a dull brown or a dull gray, and then maybe towards the neck or maybe towards the massive gut or the under the body somewhere, there may have been some other colorations, but you would have had to have been close to notice that. Now, back to what I said earlier about the gray and very light black colors to it, to this brachiosaur. I really enjoyed what Prehistoric Planet 2 did this season, which is when you saw some of the sauropods in the Mongolian episode, in the Gobi Desert, I really enjoyed what they did, which is the sauropods were no doubt dull colored, but as the camera got closer, we noticed that there was a little bit of red. The tarbosaurs had the same thing. There was a little bit of coloration here and there all around the body. Again, you had to be very close. Much like this model, there is some coloration here on the underside of the neck here. It's a light, almost a light brown on the underside of the neck here. So, but again, you got to be really close. If you saw one of these animals from afar, you would say it was just one plain monotone color. You'd have to be really close to notice. But really appreciated what Prehistoric Planet 2 did, which is they showed that there was coloration a little bit here and there to some of these enormous sauropods. You just had to be real close to it. So maybe that's what sauropods were. Maybe they all were, you know, from afar they may have all looked the same color, but as you got closer, they may have been dull blacks or even greens worked in, but it just wouldn't appear vivid and apparent from afar, if that makes sense. So again, you're looking at a herd of sauropods from afar. They're probably all going to look the same color. And who knows, even if there was different, let's say you're in the Morrison Formation, if there was different species thrown in together at some type of watering hole, it's possible that you may only be able to tell the differences from size alone. And I know that people say size alone is not a good determining factor for species, but again, when you're looking at these colors here, it makes sense that a big animal like that would have been just one kind of dull monotone color. Again, think to an elephant. It is kind of a dull gray. It can be a little bit darker. Maybe the gray can be darker sometimes. Same with rhinos. And again, when you go back to the hippopotamus, a very large herbivore in its own right, you know, it can be a dark gray, almost a black on the top of the body, the back, and then the underside can be a pink, almost a pinkish or a reddish color. So there are colorations, and I think that dinosaurs were obviously natural animals. They would have had some coloration to them. I'm pretty positive that they would have had some coloration if you got close enough. But I think from afar, not to beat this dead horse, but from afar, I think they would have appeared dull in coloration. And just like the big herbivores today that walk the earth, I think they would have been similar to that. So that brings us to the most important part of the video, your comments. Love to hear what you have to say on this. Do you think sauropods had colors to them, or do you think they just came in dull, monotone, green, gray, brown? Love to hear your thoughts on this in the comments section down below. And if you enjoyed this video, love to have you subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. Take care.